I'm Dr Helen Czerski and this is my academic home. It's the Department of Mechanical Engineering at University College London. And I'm here today to talk to one of the other researchers here, Dr Paul Hellier. Paul, tell me a little bit about your research.
I work in developing new fuels for new engines. So internal combustion engines that burn fuels like the diesel and gasoline engines we have today, but do it much more efficiently and hopefully with far fewer the pollutants that we see being released into the atmosphere.
And we're going to talk about the swanky side of your research in a minute, but we're going to start with cake here and this balloon.
Cake is very interesting because it's eggs, it's flour, it's butter, but it's not just that, there's also air. So when you're beating up your batter before you put it in the oven, what you're doing is you're getting lots and lots of air into the mixture. And then when it goes in the oven, you've got little tiny bubbles of air already present because of the bicarbonate of soda. And then it gets hot in the oven. And the air inside those tiny bubbles gets hotter and hotter. It gets more and more energy from its surroundings. And as it does, it gets more and more excited. It starts jumping around, it's got lots of kinetic energy, and it pushes against the walls of these bubbles in, and that forces the cake up and makes the cake rise.
And that's why we've got the balloon, because this is like a little pocket of air.
Yeah. That
might be in a cake, and we can see what happens when you apply some heat to it.
Exactly, yeah. So this is my heat gun that I'm going to use now.
Just point that
yes,
at me.
sorry. So I'm going to accelerate the process and use a temperature of about 300 degrees C, and we'll see what happens to our balloon. Hopefully it will start expanding.
So it's heating up the air around the balloon, just like when we put the cake in the oven.
Just like being in the oven. And so the air inside is going to start receiving that temperature energy. The individual air molecules, nitrogen and oxygen, will start going to get very excited and jumping up and down.
So inside here we've got sort of molecular bumper cars. There's lots of air molecules. They're trapped inside the balloon and they're all bouncing off each other. And what your heat gun is doing is giving them more energy to go faster.
Exactly. So the more energy they got, the more likely they are to bump into each other, bump into the walls. And so we hopefully get this expansion of the balloon, even though we're not putting any more air into it.
So the point here is that you gave extra energy to the molecules inside the balloon, and that went into kinetic energy, the molecules moving around more, and that pushed outwards, which is useful for cake, but it's also what lets you build an engine. Tell me about that.
Exactly. So inside an internal combustion engine, what we do is we add a fuel and we burn that fuel, and then give the rest of the air this extra energy from burning the fuel, forcing those air molecules to push against the piston. So the piston inside the engine gets pushed against by the air, forced down inside a cylinder, and then we turn that into the rotational work that comes out of an engine and makes the car move.
So your research is on fuel, and the crucial thing here is how quickly that energy is released into the gas, because if you release a huge amount of energy all at once, you probably get an explosion that you don't want. But if you release it very slowly, it's more like the cake rising in the oven. It's too slow to do anything. And so you're interested in fuel because you're interested in the speed of energy release.
Well, a fuel can be anything that contains carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, and that we can make burn to release energy. But the way that you put that fuel together, the arrangement of the carbon and the hydrogen and the oxygen atoms and how they link together, how many of each you have there, that's really important in deciding how quickly they give up that energy, how quickly they burn, and how quickly they release that energy and how much energy is released. It's really important in deciding the efficiency of an engine. And that's really, really vital when we're trying to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from an engine.
So when you build a novel fuel, you're putting together a molecule which is going to break down and release energy in a very specific way, and the idea is that it does it to make the push on the engine as efficient as possible, because that's what we want. We want efficiency. And so the same process that we saw with the hairdryer and the cake making bubbles expand, it happens much more quickly in an engine, but it's the same process of energy being put into a gas and that gas doing work. And so choosing your fuel is about controlling that process.
Yeah, it's about cooking your cake at the right temperature.
That's how you describe your research.
Yes.